What's up, guys? We are Tottenham TV here, back with another transfer video. A few things have happened today. Obviously, we heard before that Kieran Trippier is having a medical at Atletico Madrid with a view for a £25 million move to the West Metropolitano Stadium. It means it's going to kick off a bit of a transfer merry-go-round for Spurs in terms of looking for fullbacks. We're going to need a right back now. We're going to discuss soon why we might need a left back as well, with talks of Rose. But let's get into the main transfer story today. Kieran Trippier is having a medical at Atletico Madrid with a view for a £25 million move there. But there is an update to the story that we did talk about earlier. Is that Atletico Madrid have offered Angel Correa in the talks between Spurs and Atletico Madrid, so maybe they're looking to drive the price down with a view of giving us a player that maybe we'll be interested in. Let's read on from this article from Sky Sports. Tottenham offered Angel Correa as talks progress for defender to join Atletico Madrid. This is from Lyle Thomas, who's on Twitter. You go follow me. He's pretty good on Spurs news. Tottenham's Kieran Trippier is closing in on a move to Atletico Madrid, according to Sky Sports News. The England right back will fly to Spain on Wednesday and is penciled in for a medical with the Liga club as talks progress over a deal. As part of negotiations over a deal for Trippier, Tottenham have been offered the chance to sign Atletico Madrid striker Angel Correa. Interesting they call him a striker because a lot of the time I've seen he's playing on the right wing. So he can play either role, but anyway. It is unclear whether Spurs want Correa, but he is an Argentina international as well known to Pochettino. Atletico want to sign Trippier as a replacement right back for Juan Fran, who recently retired. There is now said to be increasing confidence on all sides an agreement can be reached before the weekend. However, a source in Spain has cast doubt over whether Atletico boss Diego Simeone would sign a player without a good grasp of Spanish. Spurs have made Trippier available this summer, and the 28-year-old has also been of interest to Juventus and Napoli. Sky Sports News revealed last week Trippier is also on Bayern Munich's shortlist, while Spurs' other right-back Serge Aurier is also available for transfer this summer. Interestingly, at the end there, they say as a potential replacement, says Marseille's Hiroki Sakai is the type of player Tottenham want to bring in to replace Trippier and Aurier, according to Sky Sports News. That's pretty interesting. But let's talk about the Correa news first, because that's like the headline news. Would we be interested in a player like Correa? He's a 24-year-old Argentina winger come striker who plays a lot for Atletico Madrid, but hasn't made too much of an impact. I think if you look at the stats last season, this is for Angel Correa, he played 49 games in total, so quite a lot. He played 36 La Liga games, but only 3 goals and 2 assists, and that's a goal over 640 minutes. So it's not great, for a player who's 24. So he should be looking to output more. He's not old, but he's not. You wouldn't call him a youngster at 24. You should maybe be giving maybe a better output. We know his qualities. He's a quick player, good at dribbling. But if you see there seems to be a pattern. If you see, he got taken off 16 times last season in his starts. Only, I think, if you count here on the right hand side, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 5 times that he played 90 minutes for Atletico last season. So they clearly don't like to play him a lot. For a large amount of time. How many times here you can see him play over the 60-minute mark? It's a fair few, but not that many. They don't seem to trust him that much. So it's clearly a player they're willing to let go. But could he improve massively if he was to come to Spurs? You never know. Pochettino has a track record of improving players, especially ones from Argentina, and maybe it could be a good deal. He's a player who can cover a couple of positions up front and on the wing. If you see, there's a few clips of him here now. Turn the music off, but he's got some quality. Oh, that wasn't a great shot, was it? This is supposed to be from a YouTube compilation with his best bits, but I think he's a number 10 there. He's got some technical ability, but he hasn't really made it Atletico Madrid. He's never really been a starter for them properly. He's never had a real consistent. He actually started the season for Atletico Madrid as a starter, but hasn't really been able to nail down a spot. And the fact that they're willing to let him go to try and sign Kieran Trippier should probably tell you all you need to know, maybe about whether it would be a good idea signing him. Clearly, they have big doubts about him, but I don't know. I feel like it's one of those, maybe sometimes you take a gamble on someone, and if you believe in his ability, it can pay off. It's happened before. Do I think he should be the kind of player? I mean, I have a feeling he'll probably we do sign him, he'll probably turn out to be another Nkudu or another Ng. That's the feeling I get with him. His output's not great, but he's one of those players where if he just improves his output, he's got all the ability in the world to be a very good player. But we've got with players like Lucas Moura already not on our books, who's quite similar to him. I'm not sure how wise it is to kind of have one of the squad numbers, him taking up one of the squad numbers. So remains to be seen. These are supposed to be YouTube compilation highlights, and it's not particularly flattering, of something that's supposed to show all his best bits. But it's harsh to judge someone on YouTube compilation, and as people it goes both ways. People get too excited when they see a YouTube compilation which blows everyone's mind, and then the player turns up and is not as good as cracked up to be. But judging by these YouTube highlights, you expect more decent little passing. He's an Argentina international though. He did play one game last year for Argentina and got a goal. But it's not a signing that's going to pull up any trees. He'll be a squad player. So I don't know. Let us know in the comments below. Would you be willing to bring in Correa, or would you rather just take all the money and go invest in someone else? But moving on, Sakai, and this is from HITC. They got a few Marseille fans tweets together on their reaction to the Sakai news, because I've seen him play a few times, but I don't know too much about him. I know from what I've seen, he's quite a solid player. He's quite solid defensively, but he's a 29-year-old Japanese right back who plays for Marseille. So he's completely not what we would usually go for. So it's interesting that Sky Sports News are saying that that's the kind of right back we want. I think the reason for that being is, if it's true, is that there aren't that too many good right backs on the market. I know there's talk of Dani Alves potentially on a free, but I don't buy that unless he's willing to take a massive pay cut. I can't see that happening, because he's going to be wanting at least 250k per week, and whether we're willing to give that to a 36-year-old, I'm very doubtful. But Sakai is a 29-year-old right back. And what the Marseille fans think of him, they clearly, if you look at the tweets here, some of them are big fans of him. Don't sell Sakai, he's the only warrior of the team. We're going to suffer, do not let Sakai go, don't touch Sakai. So clearly he has some fans, but then then on the flip side, there are a number of fans as well who say any offer over 10 million. If an offer comes to Sakai at a higher price than 10 million euros, I'd sell without hesitation. Saka, I like him, he's endearing, he's a warrior, and he's our samurai, but 10 million and I would pack his suitcase. I love Sakai, but if an offer arrives at 12 million euros for him, I'd lose him without problems. Leave aside the affection and think about the club. He's already 29 and no crazy potential in a year. He will be unmarketable. Sakai, I'm convinced if you let him go to Tottenham, he becomes one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League, like Azpilicueta. So a mixed reaction from Marseille fans. Clearly, they're not. Some of them aren't too fussed if they let him go. Some of them really desperate to keep him. But it's just strange that he's completely not the type of player we'd go for, and it's interesting we're linked with him. Maybe he could just be a stopgap for a season or so while we, judge who's the best options go forward. You can see already this summer players like Aaron Wan-Bissaka are right backs going for £50 million, and are we at least always prepared to spend that on a fullback? It's going to be tough to improve on someone like Aurier, who's also been made available for transfer, according to Sky Sports News. So if those two have been made available for transfer, leaves only Kyle Walker-Peters, potentially Juan Foyth at the moment as our right back options. So we're obviously desperately going to need. But all right, let us know in the comments below if you know anything about Sakai. If you want him to sign for Spurs. I'm not so sure, but again, I'm not so sure about the credibility of the link. But Sky Sports News, so you got to talk about it. Lastly, but not least, bad news in my opinion coming out of the Spurs camp in regards to the US tour. And it's Danny Rose left out of Tottenham's pre-season tour of Asia as he edges closer to departure. This is from The Telegraph and it's reported in numerous other sources as well. Danny Rose will not travel with Tottenham Hotspur squad to Singapore on Wednesday for the club's pre-season tour in Asia, and instead the left-back will stay behind in England with a view to being sold. Rose, 29, is valued at around 25 million with 2 years left on his deal at Spurs and has been available since last summer. Although there is yet to be a committed buyer, the latest development that for the time being will see him prepare for the new season without his teammates demonstrates that the club and player both see this as potentially the end of their 12-year association. It's a long time to be at a club. 12 years, maybe we should be getting a testimonial. We think about that. But moving on, Everton showed interest in Rose last summer, although Luca Dean, signed from Barcelona, has since been a success in Rose's position. Rose has said that he favours a move back north near where he grew up in South Yorkshire and was once a target for Man United, although that's no longer a possibility. So too at Man City, where the club have activated a buyback clause for Angelino to sign him from PSV. So both Manchester clubs are not an option for Danny Rose. Rose impressed at the end of last season means that both parties are confident that there should be interest in him. Should there be no offer that is acceptable to club and player, then Rose will be part of Mauricio Pochettino's first-team squad for next season. There has been no falling out between the player and the club, and he has been granted a longer break than any of his England teammates who also played in the Nations League last month. Interesting there, he says that there's been no fallout between the player and the manager, which is, I find interesting because you would assume that would be the only reason he's leaving because he played so well last season. And he's back. I think he's getting back to his best, and I really think he's one of the best left backs in the league when he's on his day. So unless there has been a falling out, I'm not sure why we're so desperate to sell him for 25 million, which is not that much in this market. And considering we're going to have to spend a lot of money on his replacement, I know we've got obviously going for Sessegnon. Most probably he'll be the one, but I just find it interesting that behind the scenes, I would have thought there would be something going on. But the Telegraph are adamant that Mauricio Pochettino and Rose, there's no bad blood there. Spurs travel to Singapore where on Sunday they play Juventus, a club who have looked at Rose in the past. The squad then travel on to Shanghai where they play Man United a week on Thursday, and a few other bits about the trip. And Spurs remain committed to the signing of Fulham's 19-year-old Ryan Sessegnon, whom they see as a long-term successor to Rose. Sessegnon has always preferred a move to Spurs, and with 1 year remaining on his contract, will have to be sold this summer by the Championship club. So it looks like we're going to be going down the Sessegnon route. In my opinion, I was torn last time I made the video whether I wanted Rose to leave to bring in Sessegnon, whether I'd be willing to sacrifice Rose to bring Sessegnon in. It's just, I find it a bit strange. We've offered Davis the new deal, and Rose is the one we're willing to let go. I guess Davis offers a bit more versatility, that he can play left back and he can play centre back, and Rose can only play left back. But Rose is quite clearly, in my opinion, the better left back. And the fact we gave Davis the new deal, we're willing to let Danny Rose go for 25 million so he can bring in Ryan Sessegnon, who he's not even sure himself whether he wants to be a left back or a winger just yet. So it's a risk. I think there probably will be a buyer there for Danny Rose at some point, but it's a shame if it ends like this. 25 million is not a lot, even though he's 29. He was getting back to his best last season. I think even at the end of last season, I think he was at his best at times. So it's a shame if he does leave, but it looks like him being left out of the pre-season tour definitely signals that we're going to be nearing the end for Danny Rose. Although there have been no but there's been no offers so far, as the Telegraph reported. So the fact that he's been left out the tour, given that there are no offers, and given that there's no bad blood between Pochettino and him, is just a bit weird. Because why are we so desperate to sell him? I'm not quite sure. Are we that desperate to find the move for Sessegnon? That's the only answer. Because why are we leaving him out the tour if there's no bad blood? I don't know. And it says if there's no offer comes in, he'll be part of the first team squad. Does that mean if there's no offer comes in, we're not going to get Sessegnon? That probably means that. But anyway, let us know in the comments below what you think of the latest transfer news. Would you be willing to bring Correa into the squad? Would you want Sakai in to replace Kieran Trippier? And do you agree with leaving Danny Rose of the Asia Tour to push through a move? Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like the content. And as always, come on you Spurs.